Well, one thing I wanted to ask you guys did a lot of traveling and expeditions and things like that. One thing that I found really interesting was what you found around Sedona at a Bradshaw Ranch. Even would you be able to tell us about some of the things that you found out there, and even some of the things that you guys saw?
Sure. Well, that's one thing that makes a book interesting. People kind of like to go on an adventure, and we wanted to, in Exo Vaticana, we went up to Mount Graham and visited the Vatican Observatory up there and the Large Binocular Telescope. What we found out when we got down from that mountain was that the Indians were really upset about it because they view that mountain as a portal, as an entry point to the sacred, and perhaps that explains why the Vatican and the University of Arizona went through so much trouble to get up on that mountain. They actually did an end run around all the environmental regulations. Well, so we got interested in this idea of portals, places where the veil is thinner between this realm and the next realm. The scientific way of talking about it would be a parallel universe. There's an astronomer at Harvard, Owen Greenwich, and he famously said, he was talking basically to skeptics and atheists. He said, they don't have any problem at all believing in parallel universes and all this. Says, well, if you can believe in parallel universes, you really shouldn't have a big problem with things like heaven and hell. and that's kind of what we're getting at is in Scripture we do see this idea of doorways to other realms over and over again. We see the gates of heaven, the gates of hell. Jesus mentions the gates of hell will not, prevail against the church. But the gates of heaven, it's mentioned all throughout the Old Testament, New Testament. But the gates, to Sheol, gates to death. But this term gates, it appears over and over again. And it's the same idea that we're talking about. It's some sort of entry point to another realm, a different mode of reality, like heaven. The Bible does seem to talk about the second heaven, the third heaven. And there was a belief, back in the first century that there were seven heavens. The Bible doesn't necessarily endorse that, but it was a popular notion. So the idea that there are other realms is not that terribly controversial from a biblical theology point of view. The idea that there are entry points shouldn't be that controversial either. I mean, that's kind of the whole idea of sacred mountains, Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, Mount Hermon in the Book of Enoch, I don't think that there's anything magic about being a certain elevation. It's that there is a place, and it's kind of far away or removed from the rest of the world, but that this is a place where, it's facilitated to enter between these realms, to enter and exit. And, the Bible supports that notion. I do believe in Babylon's another place. The Tower of Babel would be another place where they tried to do that. And God seemed to take it seriously enough that he thwarted it. He went through a lot of trouble to confuse the languages of the people so they wouldn't do what they were trying to do. Because he said, if I'll let them do this, anything they want to do, they'll be able to accomplish. That seems to be a rather astounding statement for Yahweh to make, considering the work of men. If I let them do this, anything they wish to do, they will accomplish. I mean, I still really can't wrap my head around what God's talking about exactly with that. But I think the idea is that they were trying to build a portal to the heavens, and that's what they said it was, and that's what it means. And so we wanted to look into that idea. When I started researching this idea of portals and dimensional doors, and over and over again, the Sedona, Arizona area kept coming up. It's also really popular in the UFO literature. There's just been a lot of UFO sightings there, and I can tell you why now because we saw one while we were there and got a picture of it.
Oh wow!
So yeah, there's a ranch named the Bradshaw Ranch that you mentioned in the question, and it was named after this Hollywood stuntman Bob Bradshaw, who actually owned a working cattle ranch out there. But during the 90s, his wife, at the time Linda Bradshaw, started photographing all kinds of orbs and strange beings and Bigfoot footprints and all kinds of weird stuff. And so they came up with this hypothesis that it is a dimensional doorway there. This idea has been developed through a couple books. Merging Dimensions by Linda Bradshaw and Tom Dongo is probably the main first one that came out. I read that book, and then I read some of the articles in UFO journals and whatnot, people who had visited that area, and it's just really common for almost everyone who goes to that area to see something weird. And I can say that we did. We definitely photographed a whole bunch of what people call orbs. Now, I wasn't really an orb believer at all when I went on this trip. I always thought that I'd taken some parapsychology classes, and a lot of the photos, are debunked as dust particles or light reflections inside the camera, what they call lens flare. But to eliminate that, I took a professional photographer with me, and we took some really high quality Canon camera equipment and set up two cameras at different angles. So if we got orbs on one camera, the only way to verify that it wasn't a camera anomaly is to see if it appeared on both at the same time. So we had one running video, one running still shots, and not only did we catch them on both cameras, the photographer actually saw an orb with his naked eye.
Oh, wow.
Now, this area is famous. It's famous for these orbs. And these books that I read, we're talking about these orbs everywhere. I've talked to a lot of other people since I've gotten back who have heard me talking about this, who have emailed me and contacted me on Facebook, who have also seen them in the Sedona area. Now, I mentioned the UFO. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see this photograph of me with the stars up in the sky in the background. The way you take that photo, we went out to the desert in Sedona at night, and the photographer opened up the lens of the camera for like 10 seconds, and I had to stand perfectly still. So it's a real photo, but the stars are really bright because he held it open for so long, it gathers a lot more light from the stars. So that's that. But while me and him were doing that, my wife was walking around the desert just behind us, just taking shots. I guess she was trying to see if she could catch some more of those orbs. And while she was doing that, she captured a large triangular UFO way up in the sky by accident and didn't even see it at the time. We didn't discover this UFO till we got home and we were reviewing the photos. I was looking through them and I go, honey, you took a photograph of a UFO. And it's at my website, supernaturalworldview.com. I got the photo posted. Just look up triangle UFO or whatever. And, we got close-ups of it pulled in, and I've had several people look at it. To me, it really does look like a really large triangle craft in the distance. And it's really pointy triangular. It doesn't look like, your typical airplane-type triangle. It's like a really pointy triangle. It's really strange looking. And, the close-ups, the light sources on it are really kind of bizarre, the way they show up. But that's available at the supernaturalworldview.com to have that photo posted. And it's also in the book, but it shows up a lot clearer on the internet if you want to look at it at the website there. But so she caught that by complete accident. At the same time, we caught all these orbs flying around. I have a video of one of the fast-moving orbs at the on the Path of the Immortals Facebook page. I uploaded some video clips of the orbs moving around. Now, like I said, I've had this orb thing confirmed by lots of different people since then, and